The madness. Well, she had no problem telling me that she has cheated on all of her ex-partners. She would live with them but still have her own place, where she could sleep with any other guy once in a while. She says that she has never been caught. She would never confess her cheating, except if it was after breaking up with them, just to make them suffer with the truth. Her motives, she explains that she did it because they were male chauvinist, and that she knew that it wouldn't last. There's a bit contradiction there, because she said that in the beginning they would treat her like a princess, but she would cheat on them anyway, even though they were in the honeymoon stage. She is now finding out in therapy that she was projecting to them her negative feelings towards her father. I must add that she has an incredibly high libido, usually having 3 orgasms each time we engage in bonding, so that high libido may have contributed for the cheating tendency. Added to that, she has lied to me on tons of stuff. She even faked that she was working in some place for 2 weeks, and lied about being graduated in university. She lied so much that I even purchased a polygraph to aid the process of uncovering all the lies. Now it seems like she finally came clean with me on all lies, and is avoiding this behavior. She said she has never cheated on me, and the polygraph test indicates she has been honest about this. We have been living together for a few months, and now I need to decide if I'll follow up and marry her or if I will split, just to be on the safe side. Yet I must take into account that she is pregnant, for the first time, and we are deeply in love. P.S. I am 99% sure this is my son, but I'll do a DNA test anyway, before placing my name in the birth certificate. So, my question is it possible that she will never cheat again, or am I doomed here? More info. What bothers me is the fact that she cheated on them even in the honeymoon stage. For instance, she would tell her first boyfriend I love you, and she thought they would really stay together, since they had dated for many years, but yet had cheated on him many times with different guys. One of the first times she did it was only because she found herself attracted by one of his close friends, and then cheated a few more times with this guy again. She is incredibly hot. A 6-foot model, with extremely slim, long wrist but large hips and shoulders. Neighbors get crazy about her and try to check out through my windows. She has actually worked as a model before, when she was bulimic, anorexic, but she is healthier now, and even more attractive. Also, she is extremely funny, entertaining, and charismatic. The kind of woman that can pick whatever man she wants from the crowd. But no, I'm not attached to her because of her visual appearance. It is her affection that attracts me. She is the most empathetic person I have ever met before. For instance, once I cried on her arms and her instinctive response was to hug me tight and intensively cry with me too, even though she didn't have a clue on why I was crying. All she could think about was that she couldn't stand to see me in pain. I know that she was self-centered in her previous relationships, and she also recognizes that. But she does not behave like that with me. I know that this greatly contradicts what I said about her past, when she confessed infidelity to make her ex-partners suffer. But there is a story behind that. Those guys were very controlling and physically aggressive. 3 of them had crushed her head against the wall. In her longest relationship, she says that was constantly bruised, and what she describes as a psychopath. She actually carries scars on her back from the day that she was bitten with a belt. Then you may ask, why did she get involved with such kind of guys, and I can answer that. Her father frequently spanked her mother, and even woke her and called her to watch himself spanking her mother. So, because this was her first male reference, she ended up getting attracted to men with similar temper and personality. And the lies she told me were intended to hide the fact that she was going through a breakdown, while pretending that she was having an active life. For instance, in regards to the fake 2-week job, I kind of knew it couldn't be true because she was texting me all day long, while a receptionist wouldn't be able to do that. The truth is that after recovering from anorexia, she began to have panic attacks, and has switched from being outgoing and promiscuous to being reserved, withdrawn and fearful. And she hasn't dated anyone since. So, when she met me, she had not been with any other men for 1 year. Indeed, it was quite difficult to have my first date with her. It took me 1 month of daily investment, through cell phone. She was still afraid, even though she had already given me the contact of her parents. I believe the lies were part of a defense mechanism to avoid being punished by her father, along with a deep insecurity of her, which is comprehensible since both of her parents seem to be narcissists. Her mother actually has NPD diagnostic. Someone here said she is a narcissist. I can tell she isn't because of her huge empathy. But yes, that does sometimes replicate their behavior, so she does show narcissistic traits, but I believe she is improving a lot on that. She is doing CBT. And yes, I'm quite different from the guys she has chosen before, and she is quite different than she was in the past, so the idea that she may have changed seems plausible for me. Doesn't it seem plausible for you guys too? She is learning to be truthful. She still tells small lies, because I guess it is a habit she has in all of her relations, but I'm now noticing her coming clean with them by herself, shortly after. For instance, yesterday she told me that she had already lunched, because she didn't want me to worry about her, but after I had my own lunch then she told me that it was a lie, she had not lunched yet. Anyway, she knows that I have the polygraph and I'm getting a bit skilled in using it. I'm now getting to an agreement with her about a set of negative consequences for her. upon different kind of lies that she may say in the future. Also, one more thing to mention. In our first month of relationship, I have cheated on her with my ex-wife. She knows it only because I told her about the kiss, then about the bonding. So basically, I'm the cheater in this relationship, although admitting to it shortly after is not so much of a betrayal. I have suspected she did lie about her past, too, that she wouldn't be able to cheat so many times without getting caught. But she seems to be consistent about that, and I'll check her past story in a polygraph session anyway. I divorced 2 abusive lying spouses, and I have 2 kids with each one of them, and both did false claim for property and false claims of violence on my part. Up to now I have debunked all false claims, but yet lost lots of money with attorneys. I'm so fed up with this that I'm graduating in law school to make myself an attorney, just to feel safer. In regards to marrying her or not, I'm thinking that it would be unfair to split right now because she is pregnant and suffering from panic disorder. I'll at least have to wait to the end of her hypnotherapy sessions, which are expected to cure her current disorder, and it would be sensible to wait for the labor too. After all, the baby's health is now the most important thing. By now, I'm doing a marriage equivalent contract, which excludes any possibility of property sharing. I believe it translates to stable union with total separation of property. In compensation to that, I'm giving her financial support in her studies, treatment, and etc. Also, I'm working on making formal agreements with her about divorce and child custody in forehand, in case we need it in the future. With the past history I have, she kind of understands my worries. Anyway, I will only marry her in church after I feel more confident and she passes a few more tests. I don't know exactly how I'll do it, but I want to get her through some fidelity tests, especially after she returns to normal life, cured from panic. But that's another topic. By now I'm just doing truth tests. I have her phone password and bank password because she wanted me to have them. I pretend that I don't use them, but in reality, I routinely check everything, including Uber transport history, WhatsApp chats, bank account statements, etc. I hate invading her privacy, but I have to do quick checks because of the many lies she has told me. Well, I think the aggressiveness of her previous partners was all on their fault. I understand quite well the part of her that may have tempered them out, because she has shown it to me. She has provoked me a myriad of times, but that just doesn't make me aggressive. Slowly I understood that she was just trying to make me jealous because of her own insecurities, because she wasn't feeling valued enough. And it seems like there was no real love in those past relationships she had. In her first 2 relationships, she did find out lots of flirting messages in their phone. So, they were all cheating on each other. She doesn't know who cheated first. Anyway, they already had a controlling and aggressive attitude with her since the beginning. I understand that she ignored that, since she was raised by controlling parents. This actually brings familiarity and thus a false sense of security for the victim of narcissistic parents. Yes, she may have tempered them out, because she also has short fuses, but it is really more about being a bad partner picker, which she has corrected by choosing me, and she has never tempered me out, despite all of the aggressiveness that she has slashed towards me. She has even slapped me and thrown objects, but she has already learned control. This has improved greatly on that. I understand her bad picking because I was also a bad partner picker. I have never been submissive or so, but when you have kids and property on stake, it becomes easy for their mother to become abusive towards you. Well, the bottom line is that she wouldn't be able to break me down, even if she cheated on me, because I have developed an outstanding level of self-control and I'm already preparing myself for the worst. Well, I think she is still maturing. She is below 30 and I don't think she has ever had any solid relationship. Her first relationship was from 14 to 18, an age in which we make bad decisions, and they didn't live together. The second was her most significant relationship, and the most abusive, and she did spend most of the time in his place, but yet I think there wasn't enough commitment from either side. So, I'm trying to look through all of that layer of trauma, from childhood and from previous relationships, and appreciate her real essence, which is very kind, indeed. Yet I'm aware I can't be sure about the future. I'm 99% confident about this pregnancy because they passed the polygraph test, but I'll not make other kids with her until she has gone through a real-world test, something like an infidelity test, and passed. Like I said, I'll do a DNA test as soon as the baby is born. If it failed, then I would move her out of my place immediately and with no qualms. And given the circumstances, I believe her family would be on my side with that. I would not do that because of the cheating, but for having lied for 9 months, and for being able to beat a polygraph test. I could do the DNA test now, during pregnancy, but won't because it is invasive and involves some risk. So, I'll do it as soon as the baby is born. I'll do the one that takes just 5 days, which is okay since we have 15 days to register the birth certificate. I'm moving to a new place right now, from a 2-room rented apartment into a 3-room rented apartment. So now I have the option of splitting in a passive and non-confrontational manner, which is by not giving her the keys of my new place. My main obstacle I'm facing is that I'm afraid of the effects of this on her mental health. Last time I left her in her mom's house, she spends all night awake having successive panic attacks, and that's bad news for the baby. Plus, I don't like to leave her in pain. So, what I'm planning is to do a very slow, gradual moving to my new place, which will either turn into a gradual separation or just a time for reflection, allowing both of us to do some deeper reflection about many aspects of our relationship and our interactions. DNA test. It seems like there is a test that can be done from the mom's blood, somehow. But this one is 10 times more expensive, equivalent to 5 minimum monthly wages of Brazil. I have this money, but I don't want to spend that much on this test, since I can spend just half minimum wage if I take a tiny sample of the newborn's blood instead. All of my kids have always lived with me, at least for 50% of the time, and I have always paid their school, plus alimony, through their mothers. I'm having trouble with the older ones, which are teenagers already, due to severe parental alienation, but trying to resolve that through courts. I have always fought for them. Working for foreign companies allows me to earn twice as much I would in local market. Plus I have property from family inheritance, so money hasn't been a problem. She has already lied to me about a health concern, deceiving me daily. For 2 months, she had pretended to have pain in her calves. I had spent money and time taking her to do exams and appointment with doctors, and they didn't find any issue. Then I realized what she was trying to hide. The issue was that she had developed the phobia of not letting me see her full height, because she doesn't like to be so tall, even though I'm a bit taller, and something in her unconscious mind makes her think I won't like her height. A couple of times, she tested me by standing up in very high shoes and pretending to be taller than me to see if I would accept her anyway. I kissed her and accepted very well, thus passing in all of her tests, but nothing changed. She kept lying about being on the tall shoe behind her dress and about having that height. I had walked with her in the mall for a couple of times, so I knew she wasn't so tall, but yet she tried to convince me that she was taller than me. So, I told her that I knew what was really going on with her mind and I read her thoughts for her. She was impressed with what I said, with the precision, but still she would stand for the lie and fight for it, getting offended when I politely pointed out that she didn't seem to have any pain in the calf when I was not around. I told her I had testimony of her walking perfectly, and she told me I was lying. I told her I had her caught in cameras walking normally, and she still told me I was lying, because that was impossible. Finally, I gave up on having her to confess and showed her a short video about her standing up perfectly normal, and watching around to check if I was looking. Finally, after seeing herself in the video, she quit defending the lie. It still took time for her to admit that she had never felt any pain in the calves. The calf lying took 2 months, but the height phobia still remained after the lie was cleared out. And this phobia remains up to current date. It has been 4 months since the last time that I saw her waking or standing up. When she needs to walk, I have to hide my face somewhere in a way that she feels safe about me not seeing her height. So yes, she was a con artist for 2 months, but her behavior was suspicious since the beginning. I only fell for it because by then I didn't know she was a liar. I really trusted her. Anyway, we have hopes that the next hypnotherapy session may allow her to recover from this. In regards to the panic attacks, I'm pretty sure she wouldn't be able to fake them so well. She is not such a good artist. She actually tries to hide it because she fears I may get fed up of her illness and leave her. She frequently cries, and shortly ago she did have suicidal thoughts sometimes. This is common between people who suffer from this. So, it's a sad story, but it will have a happy ending, at least in regards of the panic disorder. If the girl is not hot enough, you may not put enough effort and dedication into the relationship. And the hotter she is, the greater will be your crazy tolerance. I think she is in the wife zone indeed, close to 10 in the hot scale and around 6 in the crazy scale. From everything I wrote, I understand that most people here will give a much higher tag in the crazy scale, but I won't because I have lived with much crazier girls, borderline, obsessive-compulsive, and histrionic, and I know the difference. I believe she is mostly just suffering from recoverable trauma. My only 2 concerns about her are the lies in first place, and the temper issues in second place. There is an important aspect that I failed to share with you guys. In 2022, her life took a new path, and I'm just part of it, as I'll explain. She had her first boyfriend during her 14 to 18 years. Both cheated on each other. He was mildly abusive, violent, and I believe she provoked, challenged him, just like she does with her dad. Then she met a guy in the Brazilian carnival, which lived in another state, so she moved to the state of Sao Paulo, leaving her family behind. This guy was the most abusive partner, which, from what she describes, is a psychopath. After more than 1 year of being spanked, she literally ran away, moving herself to a new place to hide away from him. Before blocking him, she sent him some pictures of herself kissing other men in the nightclub. Then, for about 1 year, there was a period in which she got a different man in her bed each night, but yet had to spend Christmas alone, because she had no boyfriend or so, and she was far from her family. She never told me why, but I believe this was her way of dealing with underneath self-esteem issues that she got. Then she had 2 other stable relationships, one of them being mildly abusive. Notice that mildly means to hit her head against the closet during a discussion, while full abuse is to hit her head against concrete wall, causing her a concussion. But then she found herself financially broken, so she got back to the most abusive partner, and this time he would spank her much worse. Finally, she ran away again, this time without money, so she had to leave Sao Paulo and come back to Rio, where her family lives. She slept on the bus station, asking people on streets for some money to help her collect money for the travel tickets. But whatever, I know her bad partner picking comes from her childhood issues, because her twin sister actually married a guy which has actually been diagnosed as being a psychopath. This guy came to terms with the spanking, but after a while her sister got back to him. So, her twin sister is probably being spanked again as I speak. And I have my hands tied about that. Okay, so she was back in Rio, but emotionally broken, and her sickness was showing up in her body. She was extremely slim and kept losing weight because she was pursuing her model career, until her life became at stake. This is when her life really begun to take a different path. In the beginning of 2022, her dad took her to travel and treat her anorexic state, begging her to eat so she could survive. There she took lots of medication that made her sleep all day long. As a result, she became isolated from the world for the first time, and she liked it. This has indeed recovered her from the anorexic state, so seems to have saved her life, but then she started to develop some mild anxiety attacks. Over the course of 2022, the anxiety attacks became more intense and more frequent. During this period, she kept herself away from men. When I found her, she was single and not relating herself with anyone for about 1 year. She was afraid, and I know this is true because it took me a full month of time investment before we had our first date. This was crazy since we lived together, but her anxiety didn't allow her to meet with me in person. During this chatting period, she made some tests with me, telling me some hard stuff just to see my reaction. Some of the stuff she told wasn't even true. For instance, she told me that she had worked as a prostitute, but I didn't have any reaction at all to that. Like her, I think it can be a decent job. A couple of days later, after noticing I had no problem with that, she told me it wasn't true, was just a test. But whatever, prostitution is an officially recognized profession in Brazil, but there is great prejudice. Then, as we spent more time together, I told we had to be careful because she was not in a good mental state. She agreed with me about her issues, so she booked an appointment with the psychiatrist to treat herself so that our relationship could work. We both were already in love and knew we were headed to marrying and creating a new family, but her emotional issues were really getting in the way. In this appointment, she got the diagnostic of panic disorder and depression. But I asked her to do orthomolecular treatment instead of taking meds, and I'm glad we took this route, as she got pregnant a week later. So, when we met, I already knew about the issues with severe anxiety, some emotional dysregulation, and a bulimic, anorexic history. But yet I found her to be very open and honest with me about her issues, and she could talk about them rationally, so it was okay for me. I also had some hints about her past behavior, which the society considers promiscuous. What I didn't know, nor expect, was the lying. What seems to have happened in her past was that she had accumulated lots of trauma, from parents, bad partner choices, but she kept sublimating all of that, throwing under the carpet. But finally, she had to come to terms with all of that in 2022. Before, I believe she tried to keep herself active all the time so that the bad thoughts didn't come to mind. So, her intense physical life with too many partners, and also her infidelity, seems to be the way she found to deal with the emotional issues undercover. And her attitude prevented her from finding someone right for her. She liked to step on men, and this was a reflection of the anger she has towards her father for having spanked her mother too many times. But I'm really helping her to switch her aggressive and provocative pattern, along with her hypnotherapist and her psychotherapist. The thing I don't know exactly why she does is the lying. I think she still lies. For instance, she has told me recently that she had a natural abortion in the past, and that she was 4 months, but she didn't feel anything and didn't do any clinical procedure. I found this story to be very unlikely, but I can't confront her because any stress can trigger panic attacks, so I will check that in the polygraph. When she lies, she causes me deep sadness in my heart. One of her past partners wasn't anything like that. She called him the medicinal partner, even though she said he became a bit controlling at times due to insecurity, so she says he was a bit chauvinist. She had been with him for 6 months, and there was no violence, but she says that she never really liked him and didn't even like the bonding. She cheated on him as well, but only in the end of the relationship. After 2 weeks of cheating, she told him. This time she didn't admit to hurt him, but just to be honest with him. Then they continued together for a few more weeks, but she still was cheating, so she put an end on it because she realized that she couldn't just keep doing that to him. That's how she has always narrated this part of her life. Since he is not a bad guy, I might try to find him, contact him, and check out if the story is correct. In regards to the white knight syndrome, this is when a man has a need to be the savior to maintain his self-esteem. I'm not sure about that because I like this role, but I'm also okay in not being the savior. I have gone through some childhood emotional neglect, but today I don't think this defines me so much. For instance, I have lived with a woman that was fully independent, with her own job, her own car, and her own apartment, and I loved that. Well, she had histrionic personality disorder, but she didn't need help. I didn't have plans on marrying her because her life was artificial, and once she became physical by scratching me on the face. Okay, I said, my current partner has slapped me, but never on the face. She says that she doesn't have the courage to really hurt me physically, and that seems true. Anyway, she hasn't been physical with me anymore since she started hypnotherapy, so I think this is off the table now. In the beginning, I didn't really expect to have to save her from anything, even because she told me lies to make me believe she was very well, graduated, working, hanging out. And I already felt she was the woman of my life, even before knowing all of that was not true and that she was in trouble. Later on, as I noticed she was in trouble, I begun to help her, just like I would do with any other close friend. My comment: if you have to ask the question, then the answer is no. What you are doing, OP, is seeking validation. You will not get it here. No one in their right mind should be telling you to be with this woman. I suspect you are starving for a relationship. Women like this target desperate men because they can be manipulated. If you are so desperate for attention that you are willing to risk going into a relationship like this, then it's not the right time for you either. If you do go down this path, make sure you have someone on the outside that has the ripcord on the relationship. A friend or family, as these people as master manipulators. OP responds: a few people here are talking about kids and I don't grasp exactly why. This should not be on the table, because it is actually the opposite, as some of you said. The kids are much better provided now, with love from 2 adults instead of just me. My new partner really treats them as her own kids and is genuinely starting to love them. Also, her super affection has a positive influence on me. Some of you may have thought that she would be hard on the kids because of her temper, but it is much to the contrary. The problem I have is that she won't give them any discipline, just positive interaction. So I'm having to spend time convincing her that when we deal with small kids, we must be some basic authority. So, she is starting to feel more comfortable in giving them directives with a firm tone of voice, like I suggested. The way a woman interacts with kids tells a lot to me. I know what feels like when a new partner has a negative influence in your home. My ex-partner who is BPD did that. She was obsessively jealous about the kids I already had. This issue was something that could be noticed since the beginning, and grew worse years later. But this is definitely not the case now. My second batch of kids are now having a much better routine since I began to live with my new partner. So, what I haven't really dealt properly yet are the lies. And the cheating risk lives within this scope, because for me the damage from cheating is really on the lies that are told. I have taken a final decision, and she has already been communicated. I want to feel safe, and my fear is about what reaction we'll have when she finds herself in a situation that is tempting to cheat and lie, such as being flirted, courted by any other good-looking guy, in university course, in English course, or when hanging out with friends. Because this is certainly something that will happen frequently after she recovers from the panic disorder. She says that in the past when someone touched her hands, she immediately started to think about something more. But she adds that now it's different. I believe that I wouldn't feel tempted because I love you so much, and I'm not open to that anymore, and I haven't been interested in anyone for a long time before meeting you. I add up that she had been suffering from too much anxiety, but this disease will go away, so we can't actually know how will she feel after recovering from panic disorder. She thinks she will remain faithful as long as her love remains as strong as it is now. But this promise is not enough for me. I just want to be sure that she will never lie to me, regardless of the circumstances. At the same time, it wouldn't be fair or sensible to split with her for something she didn't do yet. So, what are my alternatives? I don't want to control her in any way, because this would conflict with my desire of making her feel happy and free. Also, I don't want to spend time and mental effort monitoring and spying on her, because this worrying is very distressful for me. So, I found out that what I need is to change the game in a way that she will not feel compelled at all to lie, even when she finds herself facing the duality. Should I go forward and be with this other man, while being unfaithful to my husband? Or should I step back and repress my desires, even though my husband has been unfaithful with me when he had slept with his ex twice? So, I decided to give her a blank check, taking payback on me for what I have done. That means I said it would be fair enough if she did the same as me, which means to get involved with another man, as long as she handled it the same way as I did. So, she would have to be honest about her doings. More specifically, she will have to admit to what she did on the same day, or within 24 hours, and then I will be okay with it. Then she brought up the fact that I did not admit what I did so fast, but I said this is to compensate the fact that I was unfaithful in a period in which we were just dating and not seeing each other every day. But now we live together, our relationship is way more serious, and we have a baby. So, reporting the kiss or bonding within 24 hours is a compensation for the fact that our compromise is much more serious now. After I got her to listen, understand, and agree with everything, I asked if she wanted me to sign our deal in a paper, and she said yes, because an agreement on paper gives her a better warranty of my commitment. I'll now write and elaborate this agreement, along with the lie consequence chart agreement, and also the stable union agreement, with separation of property. We will sign them all together. I feel great relief now. It is much easier to admit to something when someone gave you written permission, especially when it is the second time, when you have already done it once and your partner was fine with it, not reacting poorly. Hence, after we sign the papers, I will actually encourage her to experiment something, just for her to feel safe about being truthful with me on the future. This weekend she will hang out with her female friend, who got a broken heart, and they will most likely go to a nightclub or bar, so this will be a good opportunity if she wishes. Well, I wasn't born with this set of values. In my first relationship, I had the plain traditional thought. I am reflecting a lot about what is jealousy. I took this journey to conquer myself, overcoming some feelings of uneasiness I was having towards the mere visual thought of my partner with another man. This was when my BPD partner began to have a compulsive need to talk about things she did with other men during our bonding. I knew it was a compulsive provocation and I didn't want to get trapped by it. It worked. By changing my values, I became unworried and thus I shielded myself. The thing is, I am fearless. When it comes to my own safety, physical or emotional, I just don't care enough. For instance, once I had accidentally got into the drug dealer's place, where they sell stuff, but I was riding a motorcycle and using cell phone, two things that are prohibited there. They found it so bold that they thought I was from a rival gang, but I calmly talked them out of that and made them feel safe, so they allowed me to leave. If I had lied there or tried to be smarter than them, I would be burned in a tire, and no one else would find out what happened to me. P.S. I could build a house on top of a volcano, because it could be on the news and someone rich could pay expensive for it. Or perhaps I could rent it and earn great money as well. So, after diving deep into her mind, I got to a conclusion of which situation she needs to be in order to do this shift as soon as possible. The fact that I am supportive of polyamorous relationships just came in handy, but it isn't the goal here. The goal is to challenge her. So, we signed the single-sided concession contract, but it doesn't seem at all that she will make use of it. I think that by now the paper just gave her greater awareness of her own words and thoughts. What I'm doing is to disarm her defenses, because all of her bad behavior was in fact part of a defensive system against the figure of her father, and I'm showing her that this defense isn't work with me and she doesn't even need it against me. Yesterday she had 2 party invites, from her female friend and from her parents. She chose her parents. However, because of panic disorder, she wasn't even able to get there. She is now having to face her fears, since there it is not suitable anymore to sublimate them, and ayahuasca microdosage is helping her to deal with that. She has been admitting to things she did wrong, related to lies and aggressiveness, and she does it spontaneously, asking for forgiveness, in tears. She is getting in touch with perceptions which should be trivial, but which she wasn't able to have before, because her ego wasn't allowing. In the case of my current partner, she also has issues with her father which have strongly affected her behavior in intimate relationships, but this is something she had already found out in psychotherapy before meeting me. For instance, once she recognized that she chased in her relationships many emotional needs that her father didn't meet. Also, she projected negative aspects of her father on other men, seeing bad intentions on them, assuming they were cheaters, bad, and just using her. So, she cheated on them assuming that they were already doing it anyway. So, she never regretted having cheated on them nor she felt any guilt for doing it. Except once. The only instance that she felt guilty was when she confessed her doings to the partner which was considered non-abusive. Her guilt came for the fact that he was very happy that day because of some stuff he had achieved in his job, but then he shifted for feeling very sad. Yet, she assumes that he would also be cheating on her, even though she never saw anything, and this thought kind of justified her doings. The sad part is that she had kept cheating on him for 2 weeks before confessing. That's because her father was frequently cheating on her mother, and she remembers that a couple of times her mother found it out. For instance, once her mother found the phone number of a few women that her father was dating, flirting. In his phone, he only had male contacts, but then she found out the calculator had an address book and was protected by a password, so her mother guessed the password. It was lust, and there were the female phone numbers. So, she believes that men are unable to remain satisfied with a single woman. Hence, she has a tendency to think that I'll cheat on her in our new place, or in university. But she has been talking about it in a very humorous way, making jokes about her fears. So, this is an insecurity that we can deal with. Recently, in her first hypnotherapy session, she found out much more anger she had towards her father for having spanked her mother. While hypnotized, she discounted on a glass table the anger she had towards her father and broke the table. After that, she really begun to quit being aggressive with me, and gradually our relationship has been improving. My comment, I'm of the opinion that she knew that cheating was a wrong thing to do, and did it anyway because she wanted to. Your GF is almost positively going to return to her long-established behaviors. It would be nice if she became emotionally stable, loyal, honest, but given her 20-something years of opposite behavior, the chances of her doing so are astronomically low.